Broadsword has announced a new server type for Dark Age of Camelot, and it wasn't what I expected. They spoke last year about a classic Dark Age of Camelot type server, and not to say that isn't still in the plans, but it appears they've decided to do something a bit different, or perhaps this is the classic server they talked about. It's just much different than we originally thought. Now, I am going to read the entire post from Broadsword about Dark Age of Camelot's new server and give my insight, but for those with extremely limited time, it does appear it is some sort of event type server, but they make sure to clarify that calling it this isn't entirely accurate. What I think is happening here, and I can dive deeper into this as we move further into the information, is a start over server with some campaigns or specific storylines perhaps better fleshed out, and removing expansions such as Trials of Atlantis and their artifacts that so many Dark Age of Camelot players do not like. In addition to this, I would actually hope they would bring back a version of the old Frontiers for the RVR, because looking at it at face value, if one wants to play the new Frontiers, it is readily available already. Now, the goal of this new server would of course be to bring back old players and to bring in new players, and with the degrading and slippery slope that is Camelot Unchained, it would be a good time to revitalize Dark Age of Camelot in any way they can. Now, of course, a new upgraded engine and graphics, fleshing out quests on the PvE side, and then hammering down the RVR aspect would go a long way, a very long way. It may seem like a pipe dream, but it's something they could, it's possible long term. What I think they have planned here, however, is a new server with some new core rule changes, some updates to how the story plays out, possibly a bit of UI work, and probably some reworking on how that leveling up process actually plays out, and a plan to roll out some of these changes to the regular Yuan servers, and eventually the players from this special server getting dumped back into Yuan. That is the most likely scenario here, but let's take a look at exactly what was said so you can draw your own conclusions, and let me know about your own conclusions in the comments down below. Here's exactly what it said, and I quote, "Friends, players, realmmates, lend me your eyes. What follows is an update on how Dark Age of Camelot is faring and the updates you may expect, and it begins with communication. You, the greatest community that ever was or ever will be, has sustained Dark Age of Camelot for 20 incredible years. I recall celebrating Dark Age of Camelot's 5th, 10th, and 15th year milestones, and one constant through it all has been our sentiment that we owe Camelot's expectation-shattering longevity and success to you, and that we the devs are immeasurably grateful for your loyalty and your trust. Dark Age of Camelot has certainly undergone its share of changes, and one needs only examine the stratified layers of its evolution to understand the nuance and complexity of the game. It is that complexity that draws in players who appreciate engaging in and mastering the RVR dynamic that has set Dark Age of Camelot apart from all the other PvP MMOs. After 20 years in operation, quite a few original features have evolved, yet the beating heart of what makes Dark Age of Camelot so special has remained largely unchanged. 3 realms engaging in fierce RVR battles for pride, for glory, and domination of the frontiers. We intend to preserve foundational RVR elements as well as to protect and respect the progress that so many have made since October 2001. Players and guilds from Camelot's original game servers transferred to Yuan and reformed to carry forward their progress, maintain their camaraderie, and to continue to fight in service of the realm. We will continue to update Yuan with class balance modifications, RVR changes, and quality of life improvements, but this is not our exclusive direction. The core of Dark Age of Camelot is powerful and timeless. The experience of 3-realm RVR can and has succeeded in a number of different dynamics. You need look no further than the legendary PvP combat on Andred and Mordred, or the immense battle group PvE encounters on Gaheris to agree that there are yet more possibilities ahead. In this spirit, we've been working on a new server type. It wouldn't be precisely accurate to call it an event server, though in some ways it can be thought of in that way. The scope and scale of the content will be larger, and access to the dynamics of the new server will be available for longer periods than our typical events or campaigns on Yuan. Simply put, we will provide the opportunity to start your journey on a level playing field, to focus on or remove specific expansion content, and have wholly new and very exciting objectives. This is our goal, and I hope it is enough for now to know that we made a solid beginning toward achieving that goal. Trust me, old friends, when I tell you that we're aware that you are itching to know more. I certainly cannot wait to share more with you. Until that time, however, it is my fervent hope that we may rely on the trust and good faith with which you have honored us for so long. I will be providing regular updates here on the Camelot Herald in our monthly newsletter, and you can catch us lurking in the official Discord channel. With the utmost sincerity and gratitude, the team here at Broadsword thanks you for for being a part of this community, and we are looking forward to yet another chapter in the history of our beloved Dark Age of Camelot. Faithfully yours, Eldarian. Real quick before we continue, I want to give a major shout out to the members of Napalm. Thanks to their contributions, I can get the equipment and gear that I need to keep this channel ticking, covering MMOs, RPGs, and of course, puppets. If you're interested in becoming a member of Napalm, please click the join button down below. It would be greatly appreciated. And a very special major shout out to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, We Toke Bitcoins, Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, and Farthest Reach. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Now onto the video. Now, so there's a lot to unpack here. I want to focus in though on the part here talking about the wording here of the scope and scale of the content will be larger and access to the dynamics of the new server will be available for longer periods. So the scope and scale of the content will be larger. And then they go on to say to focus on or remove specific expansion content. This could mean so many things. So when you talk about removing content from Dark Age of Camelot, of course, most Dark Age of Camelot fans are going to think of the Trials of Atlantis, which most people attribute to ruining the game because of the artifacts and all that thing, right? Or could it be that they're planning to change the way that dynamically works in order to actually still have that content, but not affect the crafting as much and not affect the gear progression as much? I mean, I don't know. I would think it would be easier just to remove it, as most of the servers that are private did, and they had pretty good success with that. And you know, in a lot of these cases, the server population for these private servers was actually better than the server population on the live servers. So obviously there is a bit of magic there that is missing from live. And Trials of Atlantis, although I personally thought it was fine, I mean, it needed balancing and tuning, you know, it didn't affect me in the way it did a lot of other people back when it launched, and I got my artifacts. I was super excited about them, thought they looked really cool, and I had a lot of great memories running around leveling those up. I know it was brutal, especially in the beginning days, but I had good memories with it, and I liked that you could have abilities on there, and I thought it was cool. I liked it. But most people disagree with me, and I understand why. So I do think that would be one that they would remove. Now, we had a lot of expansions that I don't have a lot of context on, like the Labyrinth of the Minotaur, that I barely even played because that was at the tail end of me, you know, playing Dark Age of Camelot anymore. But, you know, we haven't had a new expansion in so long that it's interesting because, like, Dark Age of Camelot could continue expansions, but I think the core here is that they just wanted to focus on the RVR aspect because that's why most people play, obviously. And so releasing an expansion, unless it was an overhaul for the RVR, which I do feel like they should have done, but once again, they're playing with a formula that works, and it's like, well, are we really going to actually reinvent the wheel when the wheel is still turning? And that's kind of the mess they've been in, where it's just kind of like, well, our players like this, so let's just hone in on it, we'll focus on it, and we'll, you know, try to make it better over the years, etc. But you're not going to get new players that way, right? You're just trying to retain as many as possible, and you're not going to retain them all. People are going to leave. They're going to find other games. They're going to quit gaming altogether, and etc. And with 20 years, I mean, some people are going to straight up pass away. I mean, it's just a fact of life. You can't, that's not a eternal business strategy. So they do need to do something. I think this new server, whatever it turns out to be, is a great idea, because anything to bring attention back to this game. They're not releasing expansions. There's no big news on this game anymore. The biggest news on Dark Age of Camelot is usually something to do with the private server. So if you want to remain in business, you have to do stuff, right? You can't. And I know they're doing bug updates, and I know they added tons of new quality of life, and they're still adjusting and tuning classes. I get it. But that's not necessarily going to bring back people. If they want to have a big splash, they're going to have to do a new engine, in my opinion, so that they can do upgraded graphics and UI. They might be able to do some updates, you know, with textures, etc. in the engine they have. I don't know the complexity or how far they can go with that, but I would assume a 20-year-old game, probably pretty limited on what they can do. So since we don't even have, at this particular time, a good option for any type of like Dark Age of Camelot kind of follow-up, why not spend the time, spend a little bit of money to try to bring people back to this game? And I think that the Broadsword's going to have to invest some money into it to get to that point, and they would, I think they'd make it back tenfold. Everybody knows this name. That brand is recognizable. Tons of people, once again, just like a lot of these older MMOs, they would try it if it didn't feel so aged in the UI and most people would even get over the graphics. I mean, I still think they could do some texture updates, etc., even if they didn't change the engine, but to make a major splash, I do think they would need to update that engine. Anyway, I'm running in circles here. I hope you understand the point here. This is a great first step. We don't know everything about it. It could be bigger than a simple rule change and that kind of thing. It's exciting enough, to be honest, to have a new server we can start fresh on, where everybody's back at the beginning, level 1. I just still hope, and I know some people agree, some people disagree, but I do hope that the level up experience is rewarding on the PvE side as well. I know that the PvP and the RBR is where it's at, etc., but there is still fun that could be had, dungeon delving and exploring the world and the storyline, because this is rich in lore. We're talking about the Camelot, Midgard, Hibernia lore is bursting at the seams. There's so much they could do with it, and Camelot Unchained was going to go straight RBR. And maybe so will this. Maybe it's a special event server where it's like battleground type things all the way to max level. I mean, who knows what they're going to do here. But because of the wording here, the scope and scale of the content will be larger, and access to dynamics of the server will be available for longer periods. That sounds like that the PvE side is going to get some attention and love as well, and hopefully this is, if it works well, they can kind of carry that over to Uwain and it be the new starting experience for new players. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments down below, what you think they're up to, your hypothesis, or if you agree with some of the things I said or disagree with some of the things I said, because this is obviously just my opinion at this point. Now, as we find out more information, I will cover it on this channel. I'm a pretty darn big fan of Dark Age of Camelot, and so, as we find out new things, I will definitely cover it. So if you're new here, please subscribe if you want more content on MMORPGs, JRPGs, CRPGs, and of course, I also do tabletop RPGs. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.